guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to start applying POR15 to my 1964 TBird. We're going to be starting in the trunk, just so if I mess up, it can't be seen from the outside. So I'm just going to show you what I've done so far. I spent yesterday cleaning the trunk out. As you can see, it's got a lot of rust in here. This car's been sitting for 20 years. And T-Birds tend to have moisture built up in the trunk because they're generally not ventilated properly. So I actually left the lid to the trunk open all night last night to try and get some air in here. How did I do this? Well, I got this little brush off of Amazon. It came in a set of 3. It was about 10 bucks. And you just attach it to your power screwdriver. And I use it to just basically clean the hell out of this whole trunk in here. And then I used a regular brush and some rags that I got off of Amazon to finish the cleanup work. Removed all 4 plugs from the bottom of the trunk and then just swept everything out the bottom. So at this point, it's pretty much ready to start the POR15 application process. So, what are we going to do first? Well, this is basically a 4-step process. We're going to start with a cleaner degreaser, which is this, followed by the metal prep, followed by the application of the POR15. I got a pack of 6 cans. I'm not really sure how much one can is going to do, but I've heard horror stories about this, where if you put the lid back on the can, then it seals once the POR15 dries, and then you can't get the lid off. So I'm hoping to use 1 full can every single time I do this project, and we'll go from there. And then POR15 supposedly is, it breaks down under UV light, so you're supposed to put a top coat on it after that. So I've got my top coat here as well, and that's going to go on over the POR15. Now, if I like what I see here, I may actually do the entire car using this, because that means I won't have to paint it. I'm planning on painting it a glossy black color, so if the POR15 actually looks good when it's finished, I may just do the entire exterior of the car, and then I'll never have to worry about anything rusting on it ever again. So we'll see how that goes. The trunk is basically my guinea pig to see how this is going to work out. So I'm going to start probably in this section over here, and then the bottom section here, and then the same section over here to the right. I want to get all of this section done so that I can actually climb into the trunk and finish the back section and everything along the wall here on this part, which is going to be a little tricky because we've got some goop and, you know, spots that are really hard to clean in this area, plus you got all the wires and stuff to worry about. So I'm going to start with something a little bit more basic, just the bottom, and we'll see how it works out. And then if that does the job, I'm going to do the underside here as well. So a couple things before you get started. The cleaner and degreaser and the metal prep both need to be sprayed on. So I've got some spray bottles over here that I bought at the dollar store, and each one is already labeled respectively. You also want to be wearing clothes that you don't care about, because I hear that if you get this on it, it's not coming off no matter what. And also if you get it on your skin, it's also very irritating and doesn't come off either. So a long sleeve shirt, pants, you know, the usual. And then you're going to want some gloves for your hands. So I got these off of Amazon, along with a whole other box of them here, just to be prepared. And you're also going to want to have a hose handy, because after you apply both the degreaser and the metal prep, you're supposed to hose it out. So I actually built this carport on the side of the house very strategically, because I've got a power outlet right there, so I can use that for lights, a vacuum cleaner, power tools, whatever. And the hose is right around the corner. So I did all that on purpose so that I've got access to what I need to get the job done with the car here. So anyway, we're going to start by applying the degreaser. So I'm going to get some in the bottle, and we'll get started. Okay, so according to some of the other videos I've watched, you're supposed to spray on the cleaner degreaser and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then rinse it off with the hose. So I'm just going to be spraying all the areas here that I'm planning on treating for starters. I'm honestly not sure exactly how much real estate I'm going to be able to cover with one can of POR15. So at this point, this is just complete guesswork. So I'm probably actually going to spray a little bit more than what I think I might treat, just in case I've got more stuff in the can than I think I might. So I'm probably going to spray the majority of the trunk here. But anyway, yeah, there's not really any reason to show this whole thing, so I will just spray the whole thing and get back to you. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes since I sprayed the cleaner and degreaser in here, so now we're just going to rinse it with the hose. I'm going to try to avoid this area up here because we've got some exposed stuffing, so I don't want to spray too much in that direction if I can help it. Okay, that's a lot of gunk coming off of there. For the record, this stuff smells terrible too, so hopefully that means it's doing something good. I'm going to do a little bit more rinsing, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so at this point the trunk is nice and thoroughly rinsed out. Now we have to completely dry it before we go to the metal prep. So I'm going to be using my box of microfiber towels here and doing the best I can to wipe this up. When I hit it with the hose, I don't know if that showed up on camera or not, but we had a lot of orange residue dribbling down there through the holes. So I'm assuming that this stuff worked the way it was supposed to. So now I just need to get it dry, and it'll be ready for metal prep. Okay, so everything is relatively dry at this point. Probably took 45 minutes to, I used some towels over here to dry it off, and then I just let it air dry for the rest. Do want to point out that this section right here I pulled out. It was put in by just a couple of screws here, here, and then one here in the back. And you basically just unscrew that and pull this right out. And then you've got access to this bottom section right here. I pulled this out because I want to treat this bottom section with POR15. Now this is the tube that basically runs to the gas tank, and this is not metal, this is plastic. So I want to try and make sure that I leave this section alone and just get underneath here before I put that panel back in. So that's why I pulled that out. We've also got some erosion right here around the gas pipe, so I want to make sure that that gets treated as well. So anyway, at this point we're on to the metal prep section. Now for this section, according to the videos that I've seen, you want to just spray it continuously and keep it wet for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to get started on that and then cut the film, obviously, but the whole time I'm just going to be continuously spraying this thing to keep it wet. I'm basically just going to put a timer on my phone for 15 minutes and spray it until the 15 minutes is up. And then we'll see where we're at. So here's the metal prep stuff. It's actually kind of a pinkish color, and once again it smells kind of bad. So we're going to get started with this. go. And I'm going to try and not spray the pipe too much with this stuff. I don't exactly know what this is going to do, and I probably won't until I'm done here, but I kind of want to err on the side of caution at this point. Like I said, the trunk space here is basically my test subject to see how this is going to do. Boy, this stuff is rank. Now we've got a couple of holes right here in the bottom of the trunk. I'm probably going to end up sealing all those. Oh, we got some more over here, by the way, around the plug area. So I'm probably going to tape those up so that I can put the POR15 in there without them going through the holes. So anyway, just going to spray the rest of this area and just keep on spraying it for 15 minutes, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so the 15 minutes is up. Obviously, since you got to keep the thing wet the entire time, you're going to go through more of the metal prep than you are the cleaner degreaser. I went through almost, basically an entire bottle of this stuff. I actually refilled it during the process. So, yeah, that's quite a bit more than what we're going through with the cleaner degreaser. So that's basically a half bottle there, and this is almost one complete bottle for the same real estate in the back of the trunk here. So anyway, at this point we're supposed to hose out the whole thing, let it dry, and then at that point it should be ready for the POR15. So without further ado, just gonna start the hosing process again. This stuff is absolutely rancid, by the way. I mean, the cleaner degreaser smelled pretty bad. The metal prep is twice that bad. It smells a lot like bleach. Very, 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 very strong scent. Now, anyway, just be prepared for that when you're using it. So, I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up, and when it's dry, we'll come back and film some more. Okay, we're ready to start painting with the POR15. I used some painter's tape to patch all these little holes. I crawled underneath the car and basically just taped all the spots that had holes in them. There's another one right there. Obviously that's a screw hole, so I left that one open. And did the same thing down here. This was a major pain, getting all those taped up. A couple there in the corner. I opened up the cans of POR15, and they are really tiny. So I'm kind of thinking one can is not going to go very far. This is a pretty small can. I got a cup out here because I was going to pour it into this cup and paint it that way, because I have heard that if you leave this open, as soon as it makes contact with the air, it starts to solidify. So you're supposed to dump it into a cup and then reseal this. I've seen a lot of ones where they put the lid right back on it, and then they can't get the lid off because it solidifies, and then they've basically lost all the rest of their product. So my solution for that was to get some plastic wrap out here and this rubber band, and just put the plastic wrap over the top of the can and seal it with the rubber band. That way, if it does harden, all you got to do is poke some holes in the plastic wrap and you're right back in business. So that would be my suggestion, but of course I've got no experience with this, so take that as you will. So since we've only got 4 ounces here, I'm thinking that I'm easily going to be able to just blow through this whole can. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it open and stir it, and we'll get started. Oh, one more thing. The brushes. I picked up a couple brushes from the dollar store. Based on my research, it ruins the brush. You basically got one use out of this thing, and then it's toast, and there is no going back. So be prepared to go through a few brushes with this thing. So I would suggest buying brushes from the dollar store and then throw them away when you're done. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. So anyway, let's get cracking. Okay, so I don't have Shan Chen with me to work the camera today, so doing all this with one hand is going to be a little rough, but my plan is to paint all the little spots that I had to tape up first, because I'm a little bit worried that the tape is going to come loose from down there. So, just going to make a nice little generous glob right there where the sealed areas are. Doesn't seem to be much of a smell to this. It kind of has a bit of a tar smell, but nothing horrendous. It's very, very faint. And the other spot was right there. So anyway, I'm going to start on this whole left side here and try and get these sections over here too that I had to tape up. And I'll get back to you when I've gone through the can. Okay, so as I predicted, one can did not get me very far. Basically just got me the left portion of the trunk here and only one coat. From what I've seen, you're supposed to put 2 coats on it. So I'm probably going to do one more can and see if I can get the bottom finished here, and then probably call it for today. But based on how bad this was before and what it looks like now, I'm thinking this might actually be some pretty good stuff. So I'm going to film this again when this is actually dry, so that we can get like a full evaluation of it. But yeah, it's nice and shiny so far. I mean, it hasn't dried yet, and it seems to be filling in all the pores very, very nicely. The holes are gone. I did the ones over here too, so these are all filled in and looking good. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. I will do one more can, and then I will film this again when it's all dry, and we'll go from there. Okay, can number 2. Kind of regretting doing 2 cans in a row. When you're bent over the trunk here for that much time, it starts to do a number on your back. So I'm definitely going to be calling it a day. But this is what 2 cans has gotten me. Basically 2/3 of the trunk, or pretty darn close to it. I'm guessing it's going to take another can and a half to finish the next section. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens when this stuff dries and what I get. I'm particularly going to be paying attention to this section over here. This section was mostly flat, so this will be a good one to monitor to see if I can actually paint the exterior of the car or not. So I'll be curious to see what this side looks like when it's finished. But other than that, I mean, I guess we've made pretty good progress so far, but I mean, it's way too early to tell what exactly this stuff is going to do, because it's going to need a whole another coat, and I've only got 6 cans, so I'm guessing it's probably going to take about 6 cans to put the first layer on just the trunk here. So gonna need to be buying some more pretty soon. Might want to buy it in more bulk than 6 cans next time. But anyway, I'll be returning when this stuff is dry to give you guys an update. Okay, this ended up taking a really long time, but I've pretty much got the entire first layer done in the trunk at this point. So we got all this. It took all 6 cans, by the way, in the little box that I bought. So I've already ordered a second box to do the second coat. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, we'll see how it holds up over the course of the next several years, but it seems to be doing a pretty darn good job. Now we've got an awful lot of texture in here. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera or not, but it is definitely not smooth. But obviously that's due to all like the little divots and rust and things like that, imperfections in the trunk. It might look better when the second coat is done, but we'll see. That's why I wanted to start in the trunk, because that's not going to be seen when the car is driving down the road. So not really a big deal if it looks bad. I do have some hope though. We've got a really nice smooth spot over here where there wasn't a whole lot of rust, and I just kind of painted it anyway. And then up here towards the top, both this section right here and this section right here had very few rust imperfections in it. And as you can see, that is pretty darn smooth. It's basically smooth enough that you can see your reflection in it. Although I don't, there, you can see where it curves right there, that you can see some reflection of the tree behind me. So if I put this on the outside of the car, like on this panel right here where it's relatively smooth, I think there's a good chance that it might actually look nice. So when the trunk is done, I'm probably going to do the top section here, which doesn't really have a whole lot of rust. It's just got some missing paint in sections. I'm thinking that maybe this car was gold at some point. There's a lot of other sections where it looks white, like right here. So I think this car has been repainted multiple times. Not entirely sure, but my plan is to paint it black. And so if I can do that with POR15 and not have to pay somebody to do a professional paint job on it, that could save me a ton of money. So I'm going to be saving that experiment for another video. This one is just going to be solely on the trunk. I'm going to put the second layer on and then the top coat, and then that will conclude this video. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I will get back to you guys when the second coat gets put in. Alright, so we've got 2 full coats of POR15 on basically the entire inside of the trunk at this point. And I think it's looking pretty good. Obviously we've got a lot of rough spots, especially along the bottom here where there was extra rust and things of that nature. It's definitely not smooth in just about any place. However, it is a lot smoother than it was before I painted it. In areas where there weren't a whole lot of rust where I painted anyway, like this section right here, it is pretty darn smooth, and you can actually see your reflection in it. These little balls right here are a good example of that. You can see the reflection there. So yeah, if we keep making progress like this, I am gonna do a little pet test spot on the outside of the car just to see what happens. If it doesn't work, I haven't really lost anything because it's gonna have to be sanded and painted anyway. But if it does work and I can paint it myself and make it look, you know, have a nice glossy black color, even if it's not completely perfect, I would do it rather than you know, paying thousands of dollars to get this car painted. Because not only then will it be a glossy black, which is what I want, but it will be rust resistant, and I'll never have to worry about any of it again. I do have a couple spots on the outside of the car that have a little bit of rust. I got like this little streak right here along the side of the car, and as you can see, we got the clear coat coming off here too. So I'm probably just going to take like maybe a back section of the fender, like right here, and just sand it down and put POR15 right over it and just kind of see what happens. And if it works, then I'll do the rest of the car. In the meantime, we've got this top coat that needs to go on. I think I may have mentioned this earlier in the video, but POR15 is susceptible to UV rays, and UV rays break it down and make it flake off. So once you've got the POR15 down, even though sunlight isn't likely to be hitting this trunk or anything like that, this is basically a test run for me to see what's going to happen when it's completed. So I am going to put this top coat on there, and then I'll get back to you and see what we got. Okay, the inside of the trunk is now complete. This is with one layer of the glossy black POR15 top coat on top of 2 regular coats of POR15, pretty much for the entire inside of the trunk. And I gotta say, I am pretty darn impressed with the way this came out. It is not completely smooth in most places. I don't know if that shows up on camera. There we go, that's a pretty good view. But the bottom of this trunk had quite a bit of rust in it. So I didn't take the time to sand it smooth or anything because I don't really care what the inside of the trunk looks like. I just want it to not rust anymore. So I didn't bother like doing a really good job sanding it down or anything like that. But if you take a peek at some of these other spots that didn't have a whole lot of rust, some of these spots are fairly smooth. And like this section right here that didn't have much rust, this is pretty smooth right here. And if you look at this part along the back of the trunk right here, this is like glossy smooth. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's really nice. Is it perfect? No. This part was already pretty much smooth when I painted it, so I would expect that if I paint the outside of the car, this is what I'm going to get. So I guess I'm just going to have to kind of make up my mind whether I like that or not. I did take a little bit of the top coat and just paint it right here on the underside of the trunk. This was with no prep, no regular POR15, no nothing. This is just the top coat. And this actually came out really good. You can see some of the brush strokes, but that's because I laid it on there way thicker than I probably should have. But I'm almost thinking that just 2 regular coats of the top coat might actually work on this. So, for my next project, I'm thinking I'm going to order some more top coat and paint the entire inside of this trunk. As you can see, most of the inside of this trunk doesn't have any rust on it. It's just got flaking paint in some places. I have no idea what color this car originally was. I'm thinking like white, but then it's got all this gold in here too, so don't know. But I think that's what I'm going to try next, is just do the entire underside of the trunk with the top coat only, because that will save me a lot of time and money. And I mean, we've got no rust on it really, so I am going to get it all cleaned up and sanded and all that before I apply it, or at least get, you know, some of these chunky pieces off of here. But yeah, we'll do the entire underside with top coat only and see how that turns out. But that's going to be a little ways down the road. This Saturday, I'm taking the TBird to my buddy Lyle's house, and he's going to put some work into this thing. Carpet, get the body straightened out a little bit, maybe put the new lettering on there, get the interior fixed up. It's got that crack in the dash that he's probably going to be able to fix. The door panels, lots of stuff. So we'll see what Lyle wants to do. Hopefully he can get the brakes fixed too, because I'm not very happy with the brakes. You have to push like really, really hard to get this car to stop. And I kind of feel a little unsafe in it because of that. So hopefully there's a fix for that as well. Anyway, that's what I got for right now. We will check back in when I get the car back from Lyle, and I'll give you another peek at it at that time. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.